Good evening, this Rinpoche. Here we are again for our nightly reading of Siddhartha. I hope you're enjoying this book as much as I am. Before we begin, I just wanted to let you know that everyone here at Lotus Lake, the retreatants and all of the local community, that we are all well. I am well, and I'm hoping that you are also well. Or if you're not well, that you're just a teensy bit not well. And may that get better soon. We're also very busy working in the garden, preparing our gardens for our planting. I've been planting seeds, but also I've been spending a great deal of time writing the book on karma, how to change your karma. And I'm proud to announce that I have finished primarily, there's still editing to do, but primarily finished chapter 7, which is about merit, something which I think that people don't really have enough information on. And I'm just beginning chapter 8, which is about relationship karma. And so that would be something that I think everybody is interested in. And so on that goes, and I hope your day is being spent doing interesting things and having some time for meditation as well. So let's open where we left off last night, which was meeting Govinda, surprisingly. And so he is having a conversation with Govinda, who has been a monk of the Buddha for a very long time, and he hasn't seen him for many, many years, so much so that Govinda didn't recognize him. And now we're listening to the conversation between the Buddha and Govinda. Between Siddhartha, not the Buddha, Siddhartha and Govinda. I am also pleased to see you again. This is Siddhartha speaking. You have watched over me in my sleep. I thank you once again, although I need no guard. Where are you going, my friend? I'm not going anywhere. We monks are always on the way, except during the rainy season. We always move from place to place, live according to the rule, preach the gospel, collect alms, and then move on. It is always the same. But where are you going, Siddhartha? Siddhartha said, it is the same with me as it is with you, my friend. I am not going anywhere. I am only on the way. I am making a pilgrimage. Govinda said, you say you are making a pilgrimage, and I believe you. But forgive me, Siddhartha, you do not look like a pilgrim. You are wearing the clothes of a rich man. You are wearing the shoes of a man of fashion. And your perfumed hair is not the hair of a pilgrim. It is not the hair of a samana. You have observed well, my friend. You see everything with your sharp eyes. But I did not tell you that I am a samana. I said I was making a pilgrimage, and that is true. You are making a pilgrimage, said Govinda, but few make a pilgrimage in such clothes, in such shoes, and with such hair. I, who have been wandering for many years, have never seen such a pilgrim. I believe you, Govinda, but today you have met such a pilgrim in such shoes and dress. Remember, my dear Govinda, the world of appearances is transitory. The style of our clothes and hair is extremely transitory. Our hair and our bodies are themselves transitory. You have observed correctly. I am wearing the clothes of a rich man. I am wearing them because I have been a rich man. And I am wearing page. Next. I need a page turner. I got it. And I am wearing my hair like men of the world in fashion, because I have been one of them. And what are you now, Siddhartha? I do not know. I know as little as you. I am on the way. I was a rich man, but I am no longer. And what I will be tomorrow, I do not know. Have you lost your riches? I have lost them, or they have lost me. I am not sure. The wheel of appearances revolves quickly, Govinda. Where is Siddhartha the Brahmin? Where is Siddhartha the Samana? Where is Siddhartha the rich man? The transitory soon changes, Govinda. You know that. For a long time, Govinda looked doubtfully at the friend of his youth. Then he bowed to him as one does to a man of rank, and went on his way. Smiling, Siddhartha watched him go. He still loved him, this faithful, anxious friend. And at that moment, in that splendid hour, after his wonderful sleep, permeated with Om, how could he help but love someone and something? That was just the magic that had happened to him during his sleep, and the Om in him. He loved everything. He was full of joyous love toward everything that he saw. And it seemed to him that was just why he was previously so ill, because he could love nothing and nobody. With a smile, Siddhartha watched the departing monk. His sleep had strengthened him, but he suffered great hunger, for he had not eaten for 2 days, and the time was long past when he could ward off hunger. Troubled, yet also with laughter, he recalled that time. He remembered that at that time he had boasted of 3 things to Kamala, 3 noble and invincible arts: fasting, waiting, and thinking. These were his possessions, his power and strength, his firm staff. He had learned these 3 arts and nothing else during the diligent, assiduous years of his youth. Now he had lost them. He possessed none of them anymore. Neither fasting, nor waiting, nor thinking. He had exchanged them for the most wretched things, for the transitory, for the pleasures of the senses, for high living and riches. He had gone along a strange path, and now it seemed that he had indeed become an ordinary person. Siddhartha reflected on his state. He found it difficult to think. He really had no desire to, but he forced himself. Now he thought that all these transitory things had slipped away from me again. I stand once more beneath the sun, as I once stood as a small child. Nothing is mine. I know nothing. I possess nothing. I have learned nothing. How strange it is. Now, when I am no longer young, when my hair is fast growing gray, when strength begins to diminish, now I am beginning again like a child. He had to smile again. Yes, his destiny was strange. He was going backwards, and now he again stood empty and naked and ignorant in the world. But he did not grieve about it. No, he even felt a great desire to laugh at himself, to laugh at this strange, foolish world. Things are going backward with you, he said to himself, and laughed. And as he said it, his glance lighted on the river, and he saw the river also flowing continually backward, singing merrily. That pleased him immensely. He smiled cheerfully at the river. Was this not the river in which he had once wished to drown himself, hundreds of years ago? Or had he dreamt it? How strange his life had been, he thought. He had wandered along strange paths. As a boy, I was occupied with the gods and sacrifices. As a youth, with asceticism, with thinking and meditation. I was in search of Brahman and revered the eternal in Atman. As a young man, I was attracted to expiation. I lived in the woods, suffered heat and cold. I learned to fast. I learned to conquer my body. I then discovered with wonder the teachings of the great Buddha. I felt knowledge and unity of the world circulate in me like my own blood. But I also felt compelled to leave the Buddha and the great knowledge. I went and learned the pleasures of love from Kamala and business from Kamashwami. I hoarded money, I squandered money. I acquired a taste for rich food. I learned to stimulate my senses. I had to spend many years like that in order to lose my intelligence, to lose the power to think, to forget about the unity of things. Is it not true that slowly and through many deviations, I changed from a man into a child, from a thinker into an ordinary person? And yet this path has been good, and the bird in my breast had not died. But what a path it has been! I have had to experience so much stupidity, so many vices, so much error, so much nausea, disillusionment, and sorrow, just in order to become a child again and begin anew. But it was right that it should be so. My eyes and heart acclaim it. I had to experience despair. I had to sink to the greatest mental depths, to thoughts of suicide, in order to experience grace, to hear Om again, to sleep deeply again, and to awaken refreshed again. I had to become a fool again in order to find Atman in myself. I had to sin in order to live again. Whither will my path yet lead me? This path is stupid. It goes in spirals, perhaps in circles. But whatever way it goes, I will follow it. He was aware of a great happiness mounting within him. Where does it come from, he asked himself. What is the reason for this feeling of happiness? Does it arise from my good long sleep, which has done me so much good? Or from the word Om, which I pronounced? Or because I have run away? Because my flight is accomplished, because I am at last free again and stand like a child beneath the sky? how good this flight has been, this liberation. In the place from which I escaped, there was always an atmosphere of pomade, spice, excess, and inertia. How I hated that world of riches, carousing and playing. How I hated myself for remaining so long in that horrible world. How I hated myself, thwarted, poisoned, and tortured myself. Made myself old and ugly. Never again, as I once fondly imagined, will I consider that Siddhartha is clever. But one thing I have done well, which pleases me, which I must praise, I have now put an end to that self-detestation, to that foolish, empty life. I commend you, Siddhartha, that after so many years of folly, you have again had a good idea, that you have accomplished something, that you have heard the bird in your breast sing and followed it. So he praised himself and followed it. So he praised himself, was pleased with himself, and listened curiously to his stomach, which rumbled from hunger. He felt he had thoroughly tasted and ejected a portion of sorrow, a portion of misery during those past times, that he had consumed them up to a point of despair and death. But all was well. He could have remained much longer with Kamaswami, made and squandered money, felt his body and neglected his soul. He could have dwelt for a long time, yet in that soft, well-upholstered hell. If this had not happened at this moment of complete hopelessness and despair, and the tense moment when he had bent over the flowing water, ready to commit suicide, this despair, this extreme nausea which he had experienced, had not overpowered him. The bird, the clear spring, and voice within him was still alive. That was why he rejoiced. That was why he laughed. And that was why his face was radiant under his gray hair. It is a good thing to experience everything oneself, he thought. As a child, I learned that pleasures of the world and riches were not good. I have known it for a long time, but I have only just experienced it. Now I know it is not only with my intellect, but with my eyes, with my heart, with my stomach. It is a good thing that I know this. He thought long of the change in him. Listen to the bird singing happily. If this bird within him had died, would he have perished? No, something else in him had died, something that he had long desired should perish. Was it not what he had once wished to destroy during his ardent years of asceticism? Was it not his self, his small, fearful, and proud self, with which he had wrestled for so many years, but which had always conquered him again, which appeared each time again and again, which robbed him of happiness and filled him with fear? Was it not this which had finally died today in the wood by this delightful river? Was it not because of its death that he was now like a child, so full of trust and happiness, without fear? Siddhartha now also realized why he had struggled in vain with this self. when he was a Brahmin and an ascetic. Too much knowledge had hindered him. Too many holy verses, too many sacrificial rites, too much mortification of the flesh, too much doing and striving. He had been full of arrogance. He had always been the cleverest, the most eager, always a step ahead of the others, always the learned and intellectual one, always the priest or the sage. His self had crawled into this priesthood, into this arrogance, into this intellectuality. It sat there tightly and grew, while he thought he was destroying it by fasting and penance. Now he understood it and realized that the inward voice had been right, that no teacher could have brought him salvation. That was why he had to go into the world to lose himself in power, women, and money. That was why he had to be a merchant, a dice player, a drinker, and a man of property, until priest and samana in him were dead. That was why he had to undergo those horrible years, suffer nausea, learn the lesson of the madness of an empty, futile life, till the end, till he reached bitter despair, so that Siddhartha, the pleasure mongerer, and Siddhartha, the man of property, could die. He had died, and a new Siddhartha had awakened from his sleep. He also would grow old and die. Siddhartha was transitory. All forms are transitory. But today he was young. He was a child, the new Siddhartha, and he was very happy. These thoughts passed through his mind. Smiling, he listened to his stomach, listened thankfully to a humming bee. Happily, he looked into the flowing river. Never had a river attracted him as much as this one. Never had he found a voice and appearance of flowing water so beautiful. It seemed to him as if the river had something special to tell him, something which he did not know, something which still awaited him. Siddhartha had wanted to drown himself in this river. The old, tired, despairing Siddhartha was today drowned in it. The new Siddhartha felt a deep love for this flowing river and decided that he would not leave it again so quickly. The next chapter is the Ferryman. I will remain by this river, thought Siddhartha. It is the same river which I crossed on my way to the town. A friendly ferryman took me across. I will go to him. My path once again led me from his hut to a new life, which is now old and dead. May my present path, my new life, start from there. He looked lovingly into the flowing water, into the transparent green, into the crystal lines of its wonderful design. He saw bright pearls rise from the depths, bubbles swimming on the mirror sky blue reflected in them. The river looked at him with 1,000 eyes, green, white, crystal, sky blue. How he loved this river, how it enchanted him, how grateful he was to it. In his heart, he heard the newly awakened voice speak, and it said to him, "Love this river Stay by it. Learn from it. Yes, he wanted to learn from it. He wanted to listen to it. It seemed to him that whomever understood this river and its secrets would understand much more. Many secrets, all secrets. But today he only saw one of the river's secrets, one that gripped his soul. He saw that the water continually flowed and flowed, and yet it was always there. It was always the same, and yet every moment it was new. Who could understand, conceive this? He did not understand it. He was only aware of a dim suspicion, a faint memory, divine voices. Siddhartha rose. The pangs of hunger were becoming unbearable. He wandered painfully along the river bank, listening to the rippling of the water, listening to the gnawing hunger of his body. When he reached the ferry, the boat was already there, and the ferryman, who had once taken the young samana across, stood in the boat. Siddhartha recognized him. He had also aged very much. "Will you take me across?" he asked. The ferryman, astonished to see such a distinguished-looking man alone and on foot, took him into the boat and set off. "You have chosen a splendid life," said Siddhartha. "It must be fine to live near this river and sail on it every day." The rower smiled, swaying gently. "It is fine, sir, as you say, but it is not every life. Is not every life, every work fine?" "Maybe, but I envy you yours. Oh, you would soon lose your taste for it. It is not for people in fine clothes." Siddhartha laughed. "I have already been judged by my clothes today and regarded with suspicion. Will you accept these clothes from me, which I find a nuisance? For I must tell you that I have no money to pay you for taking me across the river." "The gentleman is joking," laughed the ferryman. "I am not joking, my friend. You once previously took me across this river without payment. So please do it today also, and take my clothes instead." "And will the gentleman continue without clothes?" "I should prefer not to go further. I should prefer if you would give me some old clothes and keep me here as your assistant, or rather your apprentice, for I must learn how to handle the boat." The ferryman looked keenly at the stranger for a long time. "I recognize you," he said finally. "You once slept in my hut. It is a long time ago, maybe more than 20 years ago. I took you across the river and we parted good friends. Were you not a samana? I cannot remember your name." "My name is Siddhartha, and I was a samana when you last saw me." "You are welcome, Siddhartha. My name is Vasudeva. I hope you will be my guest today and also sleep in my hut and tell me where you have come from and why you are so tired of your fine clothes." They had reached the middle of the river, and Vasudeva rowed more strongly because of the current. He rowed calmly with strong arms, watching the end of the boat. Siddhartha sat and watched him and remembered how once, in those last samana days, he had felt affection for this man. He gratefully accepted Vasudeva's invitation. When they reached the riverbank, He helped him to secure the boat. Then Vasudeva led him into the hut, offered him bread and water, which Siddhartha ate with enjoyment, as well as the mango fruit which Vasudeva offered him. Let's stop there today. I feel like Siddhartha has finally found a safe place. I don't know where this is going, but tomorrow evening we will continue. And I have refused to read ahead, so I'm just as interested as you are. Many blessings. Don't forget to meditate. Life is so short and uncertain. Be happy. Thank you for coming.